Let's talk herd. Hi, Mary.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good. It's really great to have you here.
No, so nice to be here.
And I felt like last time we didn't really have a chance to go deeper into this. Fascinating. It really fascinates me, the whole world of liberty and how it's kind of a change of control and how we control and what we're doing. So I'd really love to hear
Mhm.
more about maybe the actual practicality of it, because I was thinking about this when we get on a horse and we have the reins and we have, we've got that way of guiding them that's just really, we're so used to it. It's
Mhm.
natural. And so if you go from that to not having that, are you guided by the arena, or is it, yeah, I'm just really interested to understand more about what replaces what and the
Yeah,
transformation. As I think a
yeah,
lot of people probably are, yeah, but at a loss, really, maybe for thinking, just imagining how that works.
yeah. I don't remember who first said this to me, but I love the quote. There's always more than one way to ask the same question. I
Yeah.
love that concept, and I feel like it's so true. And even when we're riding with reins, Um, there's so many. I mean, you know this. That there's so many things that are going on that is communicating. With the horse, and the reins are just a piece of that. And I guess because it's a very visual piece, you can totally easily see the bridle and reins are on the horse or it's not. You can easily see what type of bit maybe is being used,
Mm,
even by the shank, and you can easily see how much someone's gripping the
mm,
reins or how much of a drape maybe is in the reins. And it's like it's easy to get this instant um, picture that you can then have a feeling about, and have maybe an assumption about what that means for the experience of the horse and the rider. And without the reins, I mean, no doubt things are different. I mean, they definitely are different, but in a way they're not as well. I sometimes use the when I'm riding magic. Sometimes I use the halter and the lead with her. Because there are a few things that, especially like if you think about like a dressage horse, like reaching down into the contact, there's some natures of like
mm,
taking up that
yeah.
contact that actually feels good to the horse to kind of rest in. So there's some things that can be helpful, but
Mm,
it's just a piece of the whole. And there's definitely a lot of other
yeah.
pieces and other ways that we're communicating, and that's in my body. I mean, to be like more specific, I mean, it's through my body, it's through my legs, through I do think one thing I love about riding without reins and even riding without tack, and being bareback is it really enables me to feel the horse just so completely, there, and I can feel, her breath and her just feel aspects of her that are a little harder to feel with a saddle in between. And then I think in turn, she's feeling me
Mm,
that much more. And I mean, that can be good and bad. There's less of a filter there than having a buffer, the saddle, I suppose. But it with a horse like Magic, that I mean, I think all horses are on many levels, that she just sees and feels everything, just takes everything in. The little details mean something to her. And I think many times with riding, to some degree, the horse, even if we're going to ride a horse bareback with no tack, there is a degree of pressure that the horse learns to just kind of be, it's just part of them. It doesn't really mean anything, like me sitting on her. It doesn't, it's being like a unit with her. It doesn't mean go faster. It doesn't mean slow down. It's just like an extension. It's like I'm another leg or something. I mean, that's the goal. And there's other things that we might do with our body that actually do, have a meaning in that, there's an invitation to do something together. And I think that for me, when riding bareback and with no reins, it helps me be more in tune to the subtleties
Mm.
of what my body may be doing that the horse is either tuning out because they think they're supposed to just ignore it, which happens so many times. And I mean, I've been kept alive many times because of that tuning out. I'm grateful for it at times, especially when you're learning to ride and, we make mistakes, and horses are just so incredibly generous. But as I'm able to be more in tune with my body, more aware of myself, physical and energetic, it's all that one thing. I feel like the horse is then able to be able to pick up on those subtleties and actually like respond rather than ignore something that I was doing. So then a shift in my seat bones can actually mean something rather than just tune that out because I'm supposed to just tune the person out and only respond to the rein pulling them. My seat bone shifting can actually mean the natural thing for the horse to do is to shift their body as well. I mean, they want to feel that that connectedness, and it's that place where we're in such
Yeah.
harmony together. I mean, horses are just so natural at finding that harmony. So if I move my body in a way that I would like to invite the horse to move, the horse naturally, if they have the freedom to, is it's more comfortable for them to mirror that as well. So there's all, I feel like there's a lot of the whole mirroring neurons taking place, and really mirroring one another. Yeah, yeah. And then there's I mean, I don't know what all you want to get into. There's so much. There's so much.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just love to hear all of it. But it sounds to me like it's a question of allowing it, like allowing the process to unfold rather than putting your mind first. So your mind says, this isn't going to be able to happen, or how am I going to do this? How am I going to be able to turn and guide and this and that? Whereas it sounds like instead of preparing all of that in advance, you just have to kind of get on and do it. And once you're doing it, it becomes clear how things work and how you're going to build that relationship, which is presumably quite unique with each horse that you're doing it with. And
Yeah.
it reminds me a little bit of changing from, not using a bit, or rather using a bit, to not using a bit. So there might be a concern that, a lot of people feel like they're not going to have the same amount of control. And really for me, the bit was never that kind of control, but it was a feeling of almost like a validation of the engagement. So it was like a sort of more an energy spot in a way. But then I found when I changed to not using one that it was like you say, in the sense of new spaces opened, and there was new subtleties, and nothing was lost. It was almost just like taking a layer of threat away and a layer of tension. And so more can blossom.
Mm.
So it's really a question of trusting and having faith that if you just allow it to happen and just try. Is that how it happened for you? Like, how did you get into this in the first place?
Yeah, I don't know. So many kind of different types of things come up in those words. There's no doubt there's tremendous trust
Mm.
and allowing. And I mean, um, so many times that I remember the first time I took Magic is the first horse I ever rode this way. And
Mm.
that was 10 years ago when she first came into my life. And so I remember vividly when I first took the halter off, I had done a lot of practicing before, just not touching the reins,
Mm.
but riding as if.
Ah, yeah.
And just in my mind, to actually take that off was just
Mm.
horrifying, absolutely horrifying. And, Magic has always been so incredibly dialed in. And, when I would get rigid and afraid, she would clam up too. And I mean, that can be kind of scary when you're trying to trot or canter and you're going forward and you kind of clamp up and the horse is like, that can toss you right over the top of their head. And of course, I don't want to come off. She doesn't want me to come off. That would scare both of us. So that's not what we're going for. So there was a tremendous amount of, needing to trust in that place where we meet. And I think that's the point that's so unique, for every horse and every human. And I think
Mm.
for me, I think there's many times where the bridle or the halter or whatever component it is that may appear to be something that's like a limitation to the horse or something that might look less free than having the
Mm.
halter off. I think in many situations that is a point of connection that the horse and that human really
Mm.
um, is supportive, for them. And I think I think that's
Yeah.
just so beautiful and so okay. And I would never want anyone to like, for me, I love, of course, doing the stuff with no tack and bareback and stuff, but it would feel so
Mm.
wrong and like not what I'm trying to put out there. If anyone ever was to perceive that as their way of being with horses was less than, because or less
Yeah.
oneness, you know what I mean? And I it because I have seen it really. The things that are beautiful to me is when you really witness a horse and a human that are just in synchrony together, in connection together. They're at peace together. And
Mm.
I mean, that place of oneness. And that can look so many different ways.
Yeah.
And it does so depend on the unique human and the unique horse. I
Yeah.
mean, me with Magic and me with I Am looks very different. I Am is like this walking bear hug. Like he walks around on. He's a horse as well. He was bred. His mother was bred in the wild, but he was born here. He knows nothing but like bliss. Like life is
Mm.
bliss and bliss is life. And I want to give you a hug because you're awesome. And I just know you are. And he's just like, he walks around and he's a gelding. He has a little bit of a different vibe being a gelding anyway. Not all geldings do, but he does. And he's incredible. He's incredible. And he's like, every time I look at him, he's like, yes, pick me. Okay, it's my turn. And he's at the gate. He follows me everywhere. I mean, just if you ever like feel like you're not worth being loved, just stand with Ian and you will totally feel validated of being loved because he will love you to the ends of the earth and back. And he is just that horse. And Magic, I could pour every ounce of love and please worship her to her toes and to her ears and everywhere in between. And she's like, uh-huh. I mean, a little bit, like in a
Yeah.
good way. But I mean, she's going to hold herself differently because she's just different. She's just different. And so there's a difference in where we connect. And I think that's the thing that I love. I love when I witness
Mm.
you and what you share with your horses when you are either on the ground or on them, and or the pictures I've seen of when you have
Mm.
rains and no rains. Like everything I see, there's always, such a beautiful intention and connection of oneness, and it's just we it's those mirror neurons again. Like I get to feel that in my body when I see it, when I experience it in yours, and especially as long as I like am open to feeling it rather than being offended by it. Like we talked about different reasons for being offended before, but I
Yeah.
think sometimes
Yeah.
being offended could be somebody looking at you doing some of your beautiful things you do with horses and then feeling like, well, I could never do that. I could never be brave enough or trust enough to take, the bridle off my horse. And it might be that they don't need to do that. It might be that their horse isn't asking for them to do that.
Yeah.
And that's so okay. And
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah, I don't know. I think that's just something that's so, and I guess a bit of a struggle with me because I love I love to do what I love to do in front of people. Okay. So, and I always have for whatever reason. Maybe it's my double
Mm.
Sagittarius. Like I'm a rising Sagittarius, and my sun sign is a
Yeah.
Sagittarius, so I
No,
like
I
get it
get
all
that.
up and down. But
Yeah.
it's I've so I'm always kind of putting myself out there. But then, and so maybe with that, I just want people to know. So if anyone's listening, and they've seen anything that I've done or that you've done or that someone's done that they think, is they would like to do, but it doesn't feel attainable. I hope that each person realizes that your
Mm.
horse is the one, that's the one to listen to. Cause your horse tells you directly how they feel about, and it may be that not riding at all is what is perfect, and it may be riding with some type of bridle or
Yeah.
with a halter or with nothing. But just I've always loved the horse as as the guide and all of this stuff more than anything else.
Yeah.
um, and then knowing that they all have different things to say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true that it always seems to come back to that not putting the emphasis on the result. Like it's not about whether you're working at liberty, like you say, or whether you're, doing high level movements or even down to the quality of your
Mm-hmm.
trot, because it's where you put the focus. And I think if we can focus on what feels good in each moment as well, it's very moment
Yeah,
based,
that's
isn't
so
it? It's
true.
very like one day something might be, feel really right. And then the other day, I mean, I really find that at the moment with my herd, it's so it's so spontaneous. If anything's going to happen, it just happens out of the blue. And then a lot of the time, it's just a building up of a vibration and there's no action. So I think sometimes we get a bit stuck in the
Mm-hmm.
routine because we know it and it's familiar and it's something to do. It's a way of keeping things safe, but then that can stop us sometimes discovering just how much can happen if we let go, and just different pathways that are possible. I had this thought the other day that horses are awakening as well, because I feel like the one horse that I ride at the moment, Sarah's horse, he's really sweet and he does enjoy it, but I think he's aware of the fact that he gets ridden and the others in a more traditional way and the others don't. And what came to me was that he maybe is still in a position where he's not ready to believe that he doesn't have to. But what you say just feels better. That feels better to say that what he's doing is right for him. Because I don't know if it's just me, but I always have this idea that there's a kind of scale of just a scale of awakening, and that as you get more awakened, things become more and more subtle, I suppose, and more energy, more energetic, less physical, and maybe it's not really like that at all, or maybe thinking of it in that way can be.
Well, I think if it is for you, it is.
Yeah, maybe that's the point.
Yeah, I think it just comes back to that, and yeah, and I know I just reflect things I've heard you say on that, of just that this experience is, there are so many paths, and that they're all so divine, and I totally hear that. Like, I can see that, like, as awakening and goes to more of an energetic space, and then for me, I have just my recent, this past year has felt like a tremendous awakening to myself, and yet I'm still myself, and it's almost like that's what I'm supposed to be awakening
Yeah.
to, like, and I'm a very physical self too. Like, it's energetic, but it's also, I love the embodiment of, I just love all pieces of it, like life, the humanness of it, even the hard
Yeah.
stuff, and the form, the physical, and the things that the ethereal kind of is moves through. And it's like, the more that I feel like I've woken up to myself, the more I just realize how human I am, and how there's things that I just love to do for the sake of doing them. And I used to think that it was always so tied up with trying to become something, because I've always wanted so desperately to become something. And with horses, because horses were just, always horses. And so I thought that, well, maybe this is why, I want so much to be doing these things, this liberty, this riding with no tack, is because I'm wanting to become, someone. And I just turned 42 yesterday.
Happy birthday.
And so I was, on my birthday, I was just thinking about this. Thank you. And what I did on my birthday was I played with magic all day long.
Cool.
It was perfect. And my family was so supportive of that. I didn't want some kind of party, or, we did a little cake at the end of the day. Mike made banana bread, because I asked for banana bread, so it was beautiful. But it's just thinking about how, like, here I am, and it's like, I'm striving again. I'm striving for something, and I've felt like that word can seem so weighted, can seem like you're striving for something that you must not be. Like, there must be something inside that then you should be able to, I should be able to, just allow and to let myself be that which I already am, and all of this. And I finally, it's like, I guess that it took me doing enough things different ways, and doing well sometimes, doing really poorly sometimes, attaching myself to different aspects of ways of doing, detaching myself, like all of that, to kind of finally come to this place where it's like, I'm just left with me, and I still want to do it. And, and it's like, that's okay. It's okay. Like, I had a hard time with that being okay, because I thought, if I wanted to go out there and do this thing, then it must be that there was something missing still. And I wasn't enlightened enough, because if I was, I would be like more just an ethereal being that was beyond the physical. Maybe I'm just part physical, I don't know. But what I can say is how much I sincerely adore witnessing when another being unifies with their inner being. And I witness that. I witness that in you when I see you with your horses, and it's beautiful. And I witness it in other people when I see them really align in their own ways, and it's beautiful. And it's the type of thing that could trigger me, and has triggered me in the past, but I found for me, it was because I wasn't allowing myself to do it in the
Yeah.
way that
Yeah.
I meant to do it. And now I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm still striving, and it stresses me out. Like it's not that I don't get stressed
Yeah.
out. I get so stressed
Yeah.
out. I can be such a basket case. Ask my husband. I can be all the things. And then I'm also like, yeah, there's Mary. She's all the things. And well, here we go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Might as well. Like, at least I can still, I mean, I'm 42. I can move. I can use my body. Like,
Mm.
Magic is now coming 15. She can move her body. Like, let's
Mm.
do some stuff with our bodies.
Yeah.
And, and I don't know what it looks like. I don't know, if it looks energetic or if it looks physical or if it looks like we're trying to win a ribbon or, but it just feels like
Yeah.
me. And I think I just am so in love with just that feeling of just like being myself and being free to strive and do.
Yeah.
And that doesn't take anything away or change anything about like what I see in the beauty of your way of your doing things. And I don't even see it as a different way. It's like in a way it is, but in a way it's so not, because you're just totally harmonizing with yourself. And how could that be different than anyone harmonizing with themselves?
Yeah. Yeah, I really identify as well with the idea, yeah, the striving as well, because I feel like that that's something that when you were talking about it, because I do feel like I do that as well some days. And maybe not, just thinking about how that looks. It's probably for me, it's more about striving to be in that place where it feels enough. So it's
Yeah,
at the moment, it does
yeah,
tend to be more about not doing, because it's the doing always feels
yeah,
quite inspired at the moment. But it's totally true that I think that that's just a perception. That word is just a word. And maybe instead of saying
yeah.
striving, we could say growing or
Yeah,
exploring, because
I love that.
we don't always have to
Exploring.
be. Yeah, because I think we do put a lot of pressure on that. If we're not in that perfect place, that we're not achieving
Hmm.
anything and there's something wrong, when
Yeah.
it can't. Yeah, I mean, it is part of, I suppose it's part of building the channel that you get out of the channel sometimes, so that you know where it is and what it feels like. And yeah, and I really agree with you about the physical aspect of life. Like things like animals dying. I haven't really had any experience of people dying, but what happened to Gabby and all the aspects
Mm,
of that, it's all very real. It's very real, and it's
mm,
very physical,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
it's I don't. Yeah, I feel like it is really who we are as well, and I think it's very
And
fulfilling.
also can be so hard.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was just gonna say, and I have not. It's got not really any connection, I don't think. But I had this idea when I was with the horses today that we are. It's like we're meeting them at that edge of predator and prey, and that we're transforming that now into a different, and in a way you could think of the predator being the one who takes and the prey being the one who gives. And it's almost like that's changing round more. And that's what it feels to me like what I'm doing at the moment with the horses. It's like
Mm,
becoming more of a giving of myself, like giving, well, mainly
mm,
trust at the moment and faith in them, that,
Mm-hmm.
that we can do something together and that it can be
Mm-hmm.
it can be mutual. It's, it's kind of like something that was maybe a circle, like flat, becoming a sphere,
I love
because
that.
it really is and this is what I've been thinking about a lot recently, or go, because
I love
this is
that.
what I've kind of comes into my mind when I think of liberty. Is the thing when I see liberty, that, and I don't want to kind of
Mm.
judge anybody else, because I think it's amazing all the different things that people are doing, but sometimes it's like there isn't a sense of liberty.
Mm.
And I think that's, it's almost like there's a feeling like there are really well worn tracks in the horse's mind, and probably in the people's minds as well. And those are what bond them together. And that is something of beauty. It does have beauty
Mm-hmm.
in it, because it's like what's the word? It's almost like a dance in a way. It can look,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I've just got this thing in me that I love freedom, and
Mm.
I even struggle to like shut the gates here to kind of keep so that some fields will grow more. And I like, because the horses always
Mm-hmm.
move around and they have their own way of moving around, and I'm like, I don't want to shut them out of there because that'll stop there, so I do have
Mm.
that. So what I was trying to say was that what really is what I find, that like the sort of center of potential at the moment, that real hub of like where all the energy is that edge of trust. And
Mm-hmm.
it could be like, say you were sitting in a vulnerable place among the herd, and you can either have a choice to defend yourself or to trust them. And I'm not saying there is anything. It's because you have to sense the situation, and you have to know, you have to go with what feels right. But it's also being able to be a center of trust that will create like that ripple effect so that you are safe. It's like a real safety. And it's the same thing when you get on without any tack or anything, or any means of, like, any obvious means of control. And when I really get into that, when I get really aligned with that now, where I am with that is that I feel just this magnet.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a sense of magnetic force. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a suction or a leverage that it's like your mind connects with it, but all your body does as well. And at the moment, I've experienced it more just vibrationally, not actually riding yet, because that's still in process. But there's something there. There's something there. And I think you touched on it when you said something about that magnetic force. And it's just like, I think that's the thing that's going to make it feel safe and be the connector, so that you're essentially one being when you're doing that with the horse, and you feel each other through that. And it's still very early days with that, but that's how it feels vibrationally, just this magnetic, and it's very real. It's a
Yeah,
very
I
strong.
yeah, so real. So real. Oh no, it's so real. Yeah, I just so many things I love, but the predator prey, like shifting that kind of paradigm, I think that's so beautiful and so much what so many are just feeling a
Mm.
calling to. And I think it goes. I think it's because we're also moving beyond a time of where we lived for so long, society, in this place of like the fear of God type concept, and that you're only going to be able to be safe if you stay within some kind
Mm,
of
yeah.
religion or dogma that shows you clear right and wrong, and there's a clear leader. And because if there's not this clear leader
Mm,
and clear right or wrong, then the natural tendency is to astray and to do things that are not good. Like this core belief that's woven has been woven
mm,
in not all societies, but certainly within the one I am familiar with. And I think it shows up in every aspect of life, from our careers. You know, we get stuck in these careers where there's a boss, and you go to work for a certain amount of time, and you do something that you really wouldn't choose to do if you didn't have to, but you got to make money. And but yet subconsciously, or maybe not subconsciously, there's this part of you that says, well, I'd just be a bum if I wasn't, working. Like I
yeah.
wouldn't be, if I just had the income to do what I needed to do and didn't have to go to work, I'd just be sitting on my tail. So thank goodness I've got to get up and go to work. I
Mm.
mean, that's like this thing that sits inside of people. And I mean, and then our kids, like if you don't discipline
Yeah.
them to study, then they're not going to learn. They're going to grow up illiterate if
Yeah.
you don't make them sit down and do these things. I mean, this is, and on one hand, it sounds so dreadful. On the other hand, it's like, well, but yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
so there, and I think it's just as much there in our interaction with animals, with and the horses and everything. It's like if we're not in this situation where it's a very dogmatic, I am the
So
leader and
true.
you're the follower, then it's like, well, things are just going to go it's going to be a mess, and we're all going to die because we
Yeah.
can't, and we're all scared to die for some reason. Because I think for some reason is we
Yeah.
actually like to live, truly. I really think that as hard as this is, as hard as this physical like thing is, I think we all love it, or we wouldn't be doing it. It's quite simple. Like, I really think that's true. And
Yeah.
so we're here, so we
Yeah.
must want to be, no matter how
Definitely.
incredibly painful being here can be. And so I think what you're pointing to is so beautiful, and it is happening in so many aspects of reality. This shift towards really, it's not just being in control, but it is about a safe space where we meet. And I think that's where, when I think about the tools of communication that I may use for
Mm.
liberty, those, and for writing, the intention is for it to be a safe space where the two of us can meet, and where we can take that safe space into the world
Mm.
that doesn't
Yeah.
see it that way necessarily, that may look very chaotic, that may be very scary, and to know that that can't touch us. We have, and I feel that way. I think that's one of the things I crave when I go back to the striving. I think my striving is because there's a part of me that
Mm.
craves this feeling of being in that bubble with that horse that is so safe, that is so unified,
Mm.
and yet doing it outside where people can see me, because so much of me is so afraid to be seen. I have such an aspect of personality that so could just hide. I loved when Facebook came around. Like I was so, and still I'm so happy to talk to a screen. I mean, like this is made for me. I can do this. And yet, and it's like, it's crazy. Yet, like, here I am, like, insisting that I
Yeah.
do this ginormous performance with this horse in front of all these people. It's like, who the heck is that? Who is that person? And yet that's in me too. But I think that bubble, that, and the contrast,
Mm.
contrast, like the contrast that I
Yeah.
experience, and the way that it enables me to embody that thing that is just as real if I was doing it in the pasture. It's no less real, and perhaps even
Mm.
more amplified in the pasture, because then it's not just my bubble, it's everywhere. It's all of nature, it's everyone around me. So it's, in one respect, it's even more amplified. But for me, I
Yeah.
think that's part of my pull
Yeah.
to doing these things in front of people, because it brings me, it's like I can carry this bubble of my truth that the horse
Mm.
is a pole star for, and holds me in, and share it in this way that I experience, in part
Yeah.
the contrast, and I think the other part is consciousness, is bringing others into that experience, I think it's like when you share something, on
Mm,
social media and other people witness it
yeah.
and they feel it and that's so beautiful and that's inspiring and you can feel it, within yourself, when it's authentic and when it's
Mm,
coming from a place of, not needing it to fill something that's not there, but existing as the thing, existing as it, and just with other people witnessing what they
yeah.
are through witnessing you as you are, and it's all just witnessing each other. But it's a lot more interesting, I think, when we do it looking differently than if we all like looked identical. It's a lot more fun to
Yeah.
witness each other in different bodies doing different things. So I do like that aspect. But
Definitely.
I just back that piece
Yeah.
about the horse and human, like not being prey and predator, but meeting together as one. I think honestly, that's the name of the show. I mean, that's it. That's it. I love that.